Yeah, let's see. I mean, this is you can look at this kind of two ways, right? Is you need a win really, really badly, but look, it's also spring split. This is the time to experiment a little bit more. Volibear being taken away immediately. Trucklax was piloting the Malphite last week, but Volibear is going to be taken away. And sure enough, the first ban that Cruzeiro do throw at Furia, man, I'm so happy with myself, is against that Camille. Which, to be fair, look, even if it wasn't Tyron, just banning Camille is never a bad idea. That champ is so strong right now.
100%. 80% presence, 80% win rate. And even in the last game as well, we saw that the Camille, which kind of lost lane against the Jace as expected, still managed to win the game. So definitely a champion worth taking off the board. The Olaf targeted at Sting, that definitely comes off Cruzeiro's win over Loud, where Sting on that Olaf was the deciding factor, did just absolutely run over everyone, was literally unstoppable with that Ragnarok going there. So wisely taking that off the table. And I think for the last ban right now, there's so many options you can go with here. I don't think you need a target ban anymore. Just, yeah, I think a Gragas ban would be safe. Another one at Trucklex. Trucklex has played Volibear, Renekton, Gragas, Malphite, Ornn. You take in the Volibear and the Gragas. He's now looking at either super weak side like Malphite, Ornn, like tanks, or a Renekton, which could be first picked by Furia potentially.
Yeah. I think if Cruzeiro don't ban it, you swipe that immediately because Renekton is so strong. He's pretty much blind pickable. But the Seraphine's
Oh.
going to be taken away. And Seraphine, obviously, yep. Wow. RMC. Boy. I'd give you a high five, but I am close to 3,000 miles away from you, but you deserve it. Yeah, Renekton's still super strong. And Tyron does have, it plays the same
Oh.
as Camille. I don't want to pin Tyron here as a Camille one trick. That's not what he is. But it plays kind of the same way. It is dive, it is go forward, and that is just the meta composition right now as the Rumble hover. But instead will be the Senna for PBO, or well, I guess it'll be for PBO, but we'll see whether he plays support Senna, which was seen in the LCS yesterday. Now, they lost, but uh, uh, it's not the support Senna isn't viable. It's just I don't know why you would do anything else. But we'll see what Sting hops on here. Three jungle picks taken away
Yeah, yeah,
here.
yeah.
It will be Udyr. Yep. When Olaf and Volibear are banned away, they pick Udyr.
Oh no, we might be seeing going from one pick a week to five, and now maybe in week four we've got 100% Udyr. I kind of hope not. I'm not personally a fan of watching Udyr gameplay. He's a strong champ, don't get me wrong. I see why teams would pick him. It's just spectating and Udyr is not the most interesting around. The support Senna, Starving Senna is coming back because of the buffs to Starving Senna, and it's a solid sort of funnel strategy, a viable funnel strategy you can run, especially with something like a Seraphine or another supportive support. The Nidalee we're seeing come through to try and match the Udyr. It's something that we see a lot here. Heavy ganking jungler to try and match the Udyr. Can farm up very well as well. And the safe Orianna pick for Annie. Uh, Annie has played a lot of Orianna, and it feels like it's been one of those champions which keeps them in the game, but it never seems to be quite enough for Furia to win. So I need to see other people step up other than Annie here.
Yeah, I mean it's got to be Beanie, or we were talking last night when we were prepping for these games, or it's got to be Skeeto. But look, Tyron is fresh blood in the top lane. I do want to see Annie on something with a little more carry potential, but maybe they are just pushing all their chips towards Tyron here. We'll see what Beanie and Damage do line up with, but that top side of the map has been decided for Furia, and 2 out of 3 for Cruzeiro, taking away the gangplank from Trucklax. It's
Oh,
taking
wow.
away that kind of more counter pick. And Jin taken away as well as Kaisa. So just hard targeting Beanie here.
I like what we're seeing out of Furia here. You put Tyrant on this Renekton, which is known to be, well, Tyrant in the top lane here, really, really strong pick. And then you slowly start to just choke out the rest of the aggressive champion pool. It really feels like they're trying to force Trucklax onto a tanky item and let Tyrant be that threat. And for Beanie, though, because they've left Beanie so late here, a lot of the champions that he has played has been banned. The Kaisa, the Jin and the Seraphine as well. I know that Dia and myself really hated seeing Beanie on Seraphine, so I'm not sad that it got banned, but it's going to force Beanie on some different champions. We've seen it on the Samira, but we also know that Samira's trash right now, or at least so I think, based on our memes. But
I've been doing well.
yeah, so they're actually going to leave it all the way for last pick. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. 4 and 5 pick at the same time. Ezreal, okay, that could be a thing. Are we going to see Ezreal Yumi perhaps?
Oh Lord, I hope not.
Okay.
Okay, I felt it.
That
Goodness.
makes a lot more sense. Yeah. I forgot he was available for a second.
So he will. It will be him, and it's funny. And this Furia, they just kind of selected all the champions. Aphelios Thresh, very potent combo.
Mhm.
Could keep him safe as PBO and Hawk with the Leona. That screams a little more aggression. I think that it's going to be very big for Cruzeiro to be able to, because Hawk, when he plays roaming supports, he has had success in the past. But I think it's going to have to be him and Sting just making plays across the map, especially because it's going to take a while for Nosferis to get going on this Udyr or on this Azir, excuse me, and it will indeed be Trucklax on the Malphite again. So this is about surviving lane and securing objectives, it feels like, for Cruzeiro.
And for Furia, they must have known that the Malphite was likely to be picked here. It is an armor tank. You picked the Renekton, so definitely, something that would do decently against the Renekton in lane. And you chose to ban the Ornn, so they didn't even have that, pardon me, to fall
Yeah.
back onto here. I do want to point out something about Leona in CBLOL specifically. She's currently sitting at a 93.3% win rate. I think she's only lost a little handful of games right now. So as much as I like Thresh into Leona, and I do consider Thresh a bit of a soft counter, Leona is just really strong. You pair that with a Malphite right now, and you've got the Azir to just pump out the damage. And Cruzeiro looks like they've got themselves a kind of scary mid to late game composition with the Udyr to sort of run things around and keep them okay in the early game. I look at Furia, they've got a really solid team fighting composition, but nothing new. We've seen this from Furia before, and they've yet to execute. So right now, I think I'm favoring Cruzeiro a little bit after the drop phase here.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you. It seems like their comp is a little more cohesive. If Trucklax can just stay safe, like you said, picking the Malphite there, the armor tank. They took away one tank in the form of the Ornn, but Trucklax does have a couple games on the Malphite, so it's not like he's just going to this completely blind. I think it will come down to, again, for Cruzeiro, how do they get to that late game? How do they get to Azir being that big damage spike in the late game? But whereas for Furia, they had, like you said, this is one of the most meta compositions in the game right now. Also, can I say, I love that in certain leagues and in CBLOL included, they show what skins, like kind of these portraits. I really, really love this. I think it's just so much more. I think it's so much cooler. It adds a lot more character to the game. But and look at for Tyron here, right? He's on a strong champion into a bit of a tough matchup here, but Renekton Nidalee is a nice little combo. If Follow ever misses a spear, we get to flame him. I don't make the rules. But if he misses the spear after a triple W from Tyron, if he goes up and ganks in the top lane, that's on him. He should ult F4.
Well, that's kind of rough. I kind of agree with that.
Unless you burn Trucklax's flash, and that's why you missed the spear, there's no other reason.
Well, we've seen what happened in LECS and LEC sometimes where like somehow there's a little bit of miscommunication and the stun comes down and the spear expects them to actually move, or they mess up the timing of the stun. But no, generally I agree with you. You pick Nidalee Renekton for a reason. If you don't have this combo down, then maybe you shouldn't pick it, because that's literally the reason why you do pick this team. We did see the fan vote. It does seem that more people are confident in Cruzeiro, especially after their loud win here. Honestly, I am a little bit too. That does affect me. The fact that they won against Loud in round 6 here. So we'll have to see if they can live up to expectation, or whether this change, putting Tyrion in the top lane, will be sufficient for Furia to start making a comeback here.
Yeah, they need it very badly. Tyrion, again, he came up from the academy, but does have CBLOL experience. Played for Furia back in 2020. Which feels weird to say back in 2020. We are in 2021 here. Again, the split. Sting going red to blue, as is Follow. Tyron going to be able to kind of manage this wave however he wants early on here, starting with the Doran's Blade, Trucklax with the Doran's Shield. This is a melee matchup, so, and Trucklax isn't going to be just this unkillable rock just yet, so I'm looking for him to make some plays early, make some plays, shove out the wave, be safe, yes, because you don't really, you've got your dash for an escape against Sting if he were to come up, but I've really got my eyes on this top lane.
Yeah, and Chocolax actually went Grasp with the Undying as well, not that Comet that we often see taken for a bit of lane control. So he is going that even safer route here, just wanting to make sure that he can try and sustain the best he can, buy time so that Sting can come and relieve the pressure occasional here. And if we look at the runes that Sting's running, he wants to go fast here with the water walking, with the phase rush. He's just going to be zipping around the map, pretty typical of Udyr in the current meta.
Yep, he wants to go fast. He's like Ricky Bobby. He has one direction, and it is forward. And like you said, with him and Trucklax and Hawk, that is all that they want to do. And it will be nice having, and to be fair, Annie and Damage with a good Shockwave and with a good Flay, with a good box, you do have some counterplay to that. As Follow, are they going to look for a dive here, level 3? I think they might. There goes the triple W. The spear does land, and you burn the flash. So not only did you land the spear, but you also burned a flash, and you survived. That is a very well done gank there from Follow, relieve a little pressure. Now, they do know where he is, but I guess they know with a deep ward down there, Furia, that I think there's a ward down there, or maybe there's not. I'm not sure if they know where Sting is, but I thought he was going to counter jungle for a sec there. Not bad.
I mean, he could, right? But there's nothing there to take right now. So he's just going to take the scuttle here. And topside, that's exactly what we expected from that Nidalee Renekton combo. It's why I drafted. Trucklax was aware. At least he didn't go down. That's actually kind of important that he didn't die. He's really far behind bot side, though. Whew, that looks kind of dicey for Hawk, but that was perfectly planned. Hawk did not draw turret aggro. They'll be fine for now.
Yep, and Damage ready with the Flay to kind of, like you said, soft counter the Leona. What you see more as far as hard counters, which is why I was I would have been happy even with a Morgana pick because even though she isn't quite as meta, but you do have a lot of magic damage coming in already. You don't really need the Morgana, but if you're looking just for hard lane counters into Leona, Lux and Morgana do it about as well as anybody. Now Sting looking for something, and Tyrant, face check the wrong bush, buddy. Able to slice as well as dice, and Sting will have to retreat.
Yeah, and that's the problem with the Renekton right now with the Udyr. Basically, unless you bait out the slice and dice, you have next to no kill potential with that Malphite Udyr combo. You simply don't have enough damage to burst him down. So Tyrion's going to be very, very happy in this top lane right now. He's A-okay. He's going to be safe. And you can't even look for sort of that mid lane gank to top lane either, because Nosferus on this Azir also doesn't have enough damage yet. Yeah, he went Comet, so he's got a little bit more early, but it's just that. A little, not enough.
Yeah, and both of these laners, they are not playing for the early game. They both went Biscuit. They both did go Corrupting Pot, so I guess, looking for kind of the just-in-case build. But Annie going Phase Rush, yeah, like you said, Nosferus with the Comet. But both of these laners just trying to... They're playing for their team. They're playing for the late game here. And the longer this goes, I think Cruzeiro do have the stronger composition. Tyrant is still going to be feeling nice with the Gore Drinker. Eventually, that does solve, not solve, but certainly alleviates a lot of Renekton's scaling problems. But he did go with that first back into a Cull here. So himself also just trying to kind of extend this game out, maybe knowing that, look, against Trucklax, against a Grasp of the Undying Malphite, there's only so much kill pressure.
Exactly. Tyrion read that, the Reddit community is buying into the Cull stock, so he decided to invest in that too for now. And he obeyed dividends, like you said. He's perfectly safe, so why not? And they're just going to repeat the gank. In fact, even with the Cull, they have kill potential still onto Trucklax. His flash still down, not 6 yet, so no unstoppable force, but they did get spotted out on the ward.
Yep, they do get spotted out. Sting there to provide some backup. Nosferus with a really good Shriva Shuffle right into tower.
That's an easy
my
pickup.
Boy, who said early game Azir is trash? What a play. Not sure what Annie was doing in that little pinch point there, but really well punished by Nosferus.
Oh man, that was something that should not happen, but it did. I mean, if you're playing an assassin and that happens, I get it, because it's like, oh, you wanted to kill the Azir, you got a little bit close to the turret, but you're playing Orianna, for goodness sakes. You're a zone control mage. You had no reason to be that close to that turret. And were you even farming minions? I'm not sure what Annie's positioning was doing there, but that's gonna hurt a little bit. The good news is that at least in lane, it's not gonna mess up Annie too much. And for the side here of Furia, they're not looking necessarily to wait that long. And here we go. Oh, okay. To be fair, Annie actually wasn't that far. It's just the scoop was absolutely massive. Well played from Nosferus to know the sort of limits of that champion there, to know how far that Emperor's Divide really goes.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Right, maybe it was a little greedy, kind of not even stepping up, but stepping into that awkward, like around the corner above the river there. Because yeah, but it's much more credit to Nosferos as the Dominus does come out,
Oh, good
unstoppable
flash.
force, flashed away by Tyron. Sting making his home in the top lane there, and they know he's there. So Follow going to take this Drake with not even relative ease, just a ton of objective ease, and probably going to get a scuttle out of it as well.
Yeah, and you can see Sting is still hovering topside as well right now. They're just Tyran's just toying with them. Oh, the teleport from
Oh
Nosferos here.
baby, yeah,
Oh, from Annie,
no
but
Dominus. Annie coming in here. Did burn the TP. Does have the shockwave. Is able
oh,
to
they're
grab
doing it.
Sting. And does burn the flash. Okay, I thought that was maybe too little too late from Annie. But one ultimate for a flash on Udyr, especially on Udyr, that's very, very big. And Follow, responding in kind. Really good job by him, keeping his foot on the gas, counter jungler.
Honestly, I'm not sure he would have died anyways. Even if he didn't flash, he still had turtle
Yeah.
stance available. He was effectively just under turret there. So dicey. I think if you have Fury, you take that right now. Why not? Right? Like you burnt the teleport. You had to get something for it here. And yeah, it really does feel like they're putting a lot of eggs into this Tyrion basket. I like it. It seems to be working so far. He has gotten himself a significant lead. We'll have to see if that particular investment pays dividends come the mid game when they start team fighting here.
Like you said, the strength of Furious Comp, it is a good team fighting composition. Between Tyrant and Follow, they can get a lot of good damage here. The Iron Spike Whip does come in. It's at 50 stacks on the Cull as well. Follow, he's gotten the. Ooh, okay, that was a very predictive death sentence there. Sting going to be on the Mercury treads. Really, yeah. I mean, that's what you got to build on Udyr here. But I worry a little bit about, like you said, to build on your point, all the eggs are going into the Tyrant basket, and that's fine. That's great. But it's, like you said, it's how do you transition that, right? Because yeah, you can build up a 20 CS lead against a Malphite that's like, look, all I do is, rock, go, burr. I don't need that much CS, right? Once I hit my mythic item and a pair of boots, I'm fine. I'm exactly what my team needs in this just very divey, go forward comp. Nosferos has a little bit of an edge here as well. So Tyrant's going to need to start making plays. They're going to have to start facilitating for him because otherwise the damage is going to be lacking. And Follow as well. In Italy, a pretty kind of boomer bust jungler. In the bottom lane, Beanie hasn't really gotten going either. So I'm worrying that this window is starting to close here for Furia.
Yeah, and that unfortunately has often been the story of Furia. Can they? Oh, the Emperor's. Okay.
Was the order given? The order? It's tough to say. Unstoppable Force out of the Dragon Pit. Follow. Not even worth it to check out a spear. Unless, delay the recall a little bit. Okay. Got a max range tipper there. Now Follow. He's doing exactly that. He's looking for the chase. We get another spear here onto Trucklax. The CC might be too much. There goes the Dawning Shadow as well. And damage, or rather, Follow is going to sidestep the business end of it, but able to get some pressure here on this tower from Tyrant. Follow keeping up the pressure in his own right. The Rift Herald was picked up there by Trucklax. And now Tyrant's got a big opportunity to get himself a lot of gold here. Proxy a wave, maybe. He's sitting pretty up there.
And right before that happened for my I was just gonna say Furia, they've been struggling to be proactive. They always sit back and seem to let things happen to them. Damage? You gonna be able to get out? You should be fine. Yeah. So Furia usually sits back and let things happen to them. I like that they're trying to do things here, and that right there was a sign of them forcing their will on the map. Trucklax has to burn the ultimate defensively there. We saw the Emperor's Divide kind of get stuck in a wall. I didn't even realize that was possible, but apparently it is. The soldiers, apparently, if you try and put them into the wall, will get stuck. They won't, it's not going to be like a sort of annoying interrupt. It won't be the entire wall moving forward. It's just going to get jammed there. And that's a whole bunch of ultimates blown defensively from Cruzeiro. Is it going to hurt them? Not really, but it does show that Furia is making these proactive moves. They just need to do it a little bit better because they're not finding very much success at this point.
No, you're absolutely right. Now another shockwave coming in onto Nosferos, but he just Tokyo drifts right out of there, is able to get a ton of gold as well from Shelly. Not optimal, but yeah, actually, I'm not sure about that Herald. I think I had a lot more time to go. Probably could have played that better. I'm a little disappointed in that, but that's what happens when you give Herald to a top laner. They don't know what to do with it.
I mean, Trucklex doesn't necessarily want to use it in his lane. It probably won't make it to the turret. He's been shoved in almost the entire game right now. Tyran's been finding leads, so he probably just wanted to get some gold in his pocket to
Yeah.
nullify that huge CS discrepancy we're starting to see come across in the top lane. There, is it a choice that I hugely support? No, but at the same time, as a top laner, I can see why you might want to do that. Just make sure Tyran doesn't get too tyrannical there.
Alleviate a little bit of pressure. Nosferus still, and Annie as well. Also, still even in CS, I should say. Drake was the first Drake was taken. Moonlight Vigil coming down here with the rifle, and PBO just going to be able to walk away, but able to exert the pressure. See if they try maybe a dive potentially. I don't think they should. The box is going to be back up, but with Moonlight Vigil Bird, it's just about keeping pressure so that Follow has an open window to take this dragon. Tyrant has no TP. Over goes Sting. Follow might be caught out here. He has to hop over the wall. There goes the box. There goes literally everything in Nosferus. Now Cruzeiro, just capitalizing on some really poor positioning from Furia. They make them pay another kill for Nosferus. Sting doesn't care about anything. He tries to go in. One, the Shockwave gets one tank off of Follow, but the other one follows up Hawk with a nice EQ with the Ignite for good measure there. And now it's going to be Cruzeiro with 4 kills. They're going to be able to expand on this gold lead here and answer back with a dragon.
And this feels so bad right now for Furia. Yeah. They were the ones, sort of running the map here, being the ones to make the calls, make the plays, and all of a sudden everything just goes so horribly wrong for them there in the bot lane. They throw bodies, it doesn't work. It now suddenly becomes 4-0. And Beanie burnt his flash in that. The Empress Divide actually scooped him up, flash and all, to deposit him into the waiting maw of Cruzeiro.
Yeah, Cruzeiro now in a really, really good spot here. You gave Nosferus has 2 kills. He's going to start to be he's going to start to pop off. He's got his boots. The Leandries is in as well. He's just gone right in, he's on his way to a Medjai's. And again, just Trucklax doing, gosh, I've got a lot of thoughts in my head.
And I'm sure both of these teams do as well at this point. Because despite that 4-kill pickup for Cruzeiro, they're actually even in terms of gold right now. That first brick coming through from Furia, as well as that advantage they've accrued in that top lane and a little bit in the bot lane as well, has nullified a lot of those gains. So while the teams can't see the score and might be feeling that one or the other is stronger, that's something that's going to be preying on them mentally as well. Do they feel strong enough at this point to pick fights, or do they feel that maybe they're behind when they actually are pretty dead even?
Yeah, I think it's just going to be about setup, because I think that while the gold is even, you're right. I do think that while maybe Furia do have a slightly better team fighting composition, again, I worry about Tyron. Yes, he's got the Gore Drinker, but it's 15 minutes in, and his scoreline is 3 goose eggs. He has not done anything this game. And maybe through no fault of his own, I confess I haven't paid as much attention to maybe the top lane and the waves and how those have been going, and how Trucklax has kind of counterplayed that. But now, Beanie might be in a little bit of trouble here. The all-in coming from Trucklax. There goes the Unstoppable Force. He's got that mythic item, the Frozen Fist. Dumps a Moonlight Vigil right into his face, and Trucklax doesn't care about your Moonlight Vigil. He just beats you over the head with a series of boulders and picks up a solo kill on PBO. Or onto a Beanie, rather.
Yeah, I mean, tip for any hikers who happen to come across a rock slide: don't stand there. You're not going to win that fight. And it's unfortunately true for Aphelios. 200 years of design doesn't help you when there's a ton of rocks being dropped on your head. That's it. Tyran did get some alone time in this bot lane. He's going to be able to apply a bunch of pressure. And that bot lane inner turret is now down to a half health.
Yeah, so credit to Furia. Tyran's still a good duelist in the side lane. It's going to be very hard for anyone to just straight up 1v1 him. So they're sending him into the side lanes, and now Sting responding in kind, picking up that Herald, and PBO. There's the AD carry that's feeling a lot safer with his jungler in tow. That turret is down to a lot less than half health. Going to get an empowered recall. Sting knows that his AD carry is just fine. And Cruzeiro responding. They get their first tower of the game. This one's still pretty even, though, RMC.
I don't know if you saw Beanie there 4x4 while you're commenting on PBO. I was just watching Beanie literally sit in the bush. Look at him. He's so scared to step up right now.
Yeah.
Like, because vision right now for Furia, their vision on the top side is primarily defensive, which means the moment he steps past that area where his ward was at, he just did not feel safe whatsoever. He knew that he could jump. Truxlax has done it once. You know, Sting popping up the bush would be no less deadly. So it does feel like the attention we focus on the top lane for Turin has worked out to the detriment a little bit of Beanie here. Beanie was doing okay in lane, but now after having died twice, I think he's really, really scared. And they're not sending the resources to protect him either. Like, all he's got is damage. They're not going to send him a jungler. They're not going to send him a mid laner. And they're definitely not going to send Tyrion over that way.
No, but it just might be enough. He can absolutely melt towers with all those chakrams, and now Sting going to drop the second Rift Herald here onto the bottom lane, and two more members of Cruzeiro will exert pressure into the bottom lane. If I said bottom lane before, I meant mid lane. Going to get the drop there. Really good stuff, and they're going to get, probably another tower here down bot. Sting is counter jungling. My goodness, it's just a red wave down this bottom side of the map, and meanwhile, responding in kind are Damage and Beanie, and Trucklax just kind of, he's just playing tower defense right now. Let's see what Tyrion can do here. Q's nothing.
It's a little difficult for Tyrion to try and threaten PBO here with Hawk sort of bodyguarding. The sheer amount of CC that Leona puts out is no joke. And Tyrion needs to slice and dice all the way to the back line. You combine that with the Glacial Augment, and if Tyrion cannot just sit on top of PBO the entire time, PBO can kite him, get away. So wise play from Tyrion to not to force that too much. Inferno is coming up in 10 seconds now. We've not actually seen a full-on team fight. All the mythics are, or everybody except for the supports at this point have mythics. So I would like to see them actually get a 5v5, and so we get a better grasp on how the teams go, whether or not Cruzeiro has skilled up sufficiently at this point, and whether Furia can just force fights or not. But we're not going to get it.
No, they've shoved Furia right off of the mid lane and right off his dragon, by extension Cruzeiro, bouncing back with good objective control, because that was kind of the one knock, right? And you mentioned it rightfully so, that look, yes, Cruzeiro are ahead with these kills, but Furia are even. They've, done well as far as their macro, and ticking their boxes, dotting their I's, crossing their T's as far as getting advantages in other places, staying even in CS, etc. There goes the unstoppable force. Beanie just completely able to get a tower, or get a lantern, rather, excuse me. Sorry, my stream froze there for a second. I kind of panicked. I froze as well. That's just what happens.
It's the Leona stunts, man. Leona.
Actually, it's blinding. It extends much further than the Rift here. Furia taking a page out of INTZ's book, maybe send up a little bit of a death bush, but it will be for naught. Yep, that is A-okay. Not able to get that top tier 2 knocked down, though. They're really indexing really heavily into trying to create that pressure in the side lanes. I suppose maybe it's just you give Tyrion more room to operate, create more pressure points here. But now here comes the TP from Annie. Gets a good stun there, can reel her back with a shockwave, and that's exactly what he does, and that is a very dead Leona.
That's a lot of resources invested to kill that Leona here. And they're not even going to go for that turret. We see the pings coming down for the Baron here. It's a bit of a sketchy situation to me to try and fight Baron against Nazir. But the good news is they did clear out most of the vision, so Cruzeiro's walking into this blind here.
Yeah, Sting does have Smite. He can flash and go over, and maybe Nosferus can help set that up. Trucklax, no ultimate just yet. And the steal! Sting does exactly that. He will go down for it, but they don't care. Able to swipe away the Baron. Udyr slapped it over the head with a meaty bear paw and a summoner spell as well. Really good stuff from Cruzeiro, just thwarting Furia at every turn.
Oh, the feels bad moment here. When your team is there, you get the pick. You've got all the vision too. They saw where Sting was. They knew Sting would be coming, and they did nothing. Nothing to stop him. No flay, no death sentence. Even a box would have been nice. Graviton, I'm not sure if Beanie had Graviton. No, he didn't have Graviton, so he couldn't have stopped them. Okay, but yeah, it feels so bad for Furia right now. And I am getting more and more concerned from what we're seeing from Furia. It feels like they're playing scared.
Yep.
They had the winning Renekton, they had the winning Nidalee, but they didn't use them appropriately. Like that, the Inferno Dragon, they could have fought for that. They opted not to. They go topside. They make sure they've got a massive numbers advantage before they're willing to do that. They go for Baron again. They've got a numbers advantage. Therefore, they go for that play, and it didn't work out. So it feels like they're putting so much work into things that just aren't panning out. And sure, Ophelio scales really, really nicely, but we've already seen Trucklax has Beanie's number. Beanie does not get to play the game if Unstoppable Force is available.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing about Malphite. He is just a pretty kind of easy to execute, safe, weak side champion. As long as you don't just straight up int, you are going to be useful to your team. It is that Infernal Soul that's going to be, in play here in at minimum about 6 minutes. But no, Trucklax is playing weak side pretty well here, and only down 30 CS. Which, all things considered, that's pretty impressive because Tyrion has been getting, like you said, a lot of alone time in these side lanes. But Trucklax is just playing. He'd been playing tower defense up top when Beanie and Damage were up there. But to circle back to your original point, all I'm trying to say here is, yeah, I am a little bit worried as the Shockwave does go out here, not going to be available for Annie. You worry a little bit about the decision making or lack thereof from Furia.
Tyrion is topside with no teleport right now. So this is going to be a 5v4 on this bot side. This is not a base race that Tyrion wins. You're facing a Baroned up team.
Yeah, it's a 4v4 as Trucklax is in the mid lane. No Shockwave for Annie. Again, now here comes the recall. Solar Flare goes out, but they're not going to follow up on. I think that was the right move. Focus on this tower. Death Sentence isn't going to land. Moonlight Vigil goes out. Sprays a little bit of damage, but really not that much. Now here comes Tyrion. Trucklax does have the ultimate available. He'll sidestep the Death Sentence. The stun lands, but he does nothing. Trucklax is an absolute meatball.
Things are getting a little dicey here. So one thing that we have to note was that there was a short moment they showed sort of the level and experience, and Trucklax is actually up in terms of experience from Tyrion, and also Trucklax defensive stats are cheaper than offensive stats as well. Mm-hmm. So Trucklax, despite being down 50 CS now, is not that far down in terms of power, because he just needs to buy ability haste and defensive stats compared to Tyrion, who has to buy offensive stats. So they're still in a really, really solid position. They pushed in like that. Like I said, I just questioned what Tyrion was doing without teleport. That Trucklax still did have teleport, and we saw, because he's mid lane, he rotates that much faster. Baron buff wore out, and just like clockwork, Cruzeiro just fall back onto this Infernal Dragon. I love the timing, the play from this team right now. And while the gold's only about 1,000 and change, Cruzeiro looks just so much cleaner in the mid game.
Yeah, they really have, and it doesn't even feel like they're just making these super kind of 5-head plays. Their fundamentals are good. I'll admit I haven't really been impressed by either team, but you got to give credit where credit is due. Is that Cruzeiro aren't really making that many mistakes. Nosferus got a freaking solo kill level 6 on Azir, so that's been cool. But I have been, Trucklax is playing weak side well. Sting with a good Baron Smite steal. I haven't really seen much out of PBO and Hawk, but they're doing just enough.
And this bot lane, I feel like, for Cruzeiro, it always feels like it's the bot lanes for the losing teams right now that aren't quite stepping up. But the Senna pick, I feel, it's one of the better picks to be passive on. If a Senna is not standing out, that's perfectly fine. We can't see the heals quite as effectively. The Dawning Shadow shields also, maybe we don't see as much. There's a lot of utility in PBO's kit as well. And Senna isn't that fancy sort of auto attack champion. You need a space really, really carefully. Your autos also are slower. So it's fine. And Nosferus on Azir, he's been able to put out some really good damage numbers, as well as his Emperor Divides being completely on point so far. So I think Cruzeiro, they're in an okay position to scale. Beanie's actually, I feel like, been doing quite well on the Aphelios when he's been able to be safe. The question is, can his team do that?
Yeah, they need to protect him because, I mean, he's got to be able to chew through kind of the rest of the team's members. But Thresh and Annie with a really well placed Shockwave are kind of the only anti-dive, and there is a lot, like they know that Beanie is kind of their way back into this as the Solar Flare goes out. Especially because Tyrion, he's going to be the one diving in trying to get to PBO/Nosferus. And he's going to have to play a little more defensively in these team fights to try to protect Beanie. And I think that Cruzeiro know that because they're just throwing everything at Beanie. Because like you said, when he's been able to be safe, he's fine. He's a Felix. He's going to do a lot of damage to everyone not named Trucklax. But it's looking really, really rough right now for Furia. Death Sentence almost lands her on a PBO. I thought he just insta-cleansed that or something. There goes the Moonlight Vigil. Hawk taken a little bit lower, but Sting just going to clean up damage here. And now maybe Furia have a collapse.
Coming.
Hawk goes right in. Beanie insta-cleanses that. And now he's able to stay safe again and actually pumps out pretty good damage on the members of Cruzeiro. Looking for a flank, but the follow-up isn't there. Fighting in a pinch point. There goes the Unstoppable Force. He gets absolutely popped. Sting will survive. Heals it all right back up. And that is the way the cookie crumbles. A miscoordinated fight from Furia goes exactly how you would expect it
to. For us watching Sting bait them with Udyr for the longest time, and I was just thinking, this is like one of those Tom and Jerry shows right now where Sting's just like teasing Furia, like, come and get me, come and get me. And then suddenly it all became serious when he found damage. They just burst damage down right away. And after that, that fight was a lost cause. Trucklax coming in was massive because he didn't even have to use the Unstoppable Force to zone out 3 members. Follow Annie and Beanie, just the potential for the Unstoppable Force caused them to have to disengage, and Tyrion was just left out to dry.
Yeah, and he's only got 1 kill to his name. Like you said, Trucklax is basically even with him on this weak side top laner. A Renekton that is behind in a team fight, in a coordinated comp, can only do so much. But when he's by himself like that, like you said, he got left out to dry. He was trying to come in from a really kind of fun, sexy angle on the backside, and it just did not work. The coordination wasn't there because, again, damage wasn't there to be able to maybe dissuade this dive from Trucklax that, like you said, just the potential of that dive and that Unstoppable Force forced Annie and Beanie pretty much completely out of the fight, so they had no damage.
And there's good news and bad news for Furia. The good news right now is that Cruzeiro seems to be a little bit slower on this Baron push than they otherwise could have been. The bad news is that they are still doing the Baron push, and they are going to siege you up, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Sting is so fast.
That's Sting without the chem tank, too.
Yeah. No, he is flying. He's got the Deadmans as well. That nerf is coming in also a little bit in 11.3. I think it's just a health nerf. But as far as the zoom, zoom, boom, boom, you're still going to be able to do that just as well. Dragon coming up here in 5 seconds, seeing if they can pick a fight. Trucklax still has his ultimate. He's just beating people over the head. The human rock slide. Maybe not human, but you get what I'm trying to say there. The Baron power play is still in effect. They're able to take down that mid-tier 2. The inhib is being sieged, and the Dragon is being started up. Do Furia have a miracle left in them? Hawk and Trucklax into the front line. Shockwave goes out. Not Shockwave, just the ball going out. Not going to find anybody. Tyrion kind of by himself. He can't really shoot through anybody. Moonlight Vigil going out. Sting is going to survive. Hawk will go down. They kite the fight right back. But while all that's going on, Nosferus was absolutely melting this Infernal Drake, so they got what they came for. They got the soul and just traded a support for it. Also got a mid-tier 2 out of
it. It's rough, and Furia wins that because Cruzeiro wasn't interested in the fight. They wanted the Infernal Soul, and I don't blame them. I want the Infernal Soul too. There's even more damage to be had with that. The nice bits of explosions that you get with your autos just look so good there. So Furia wins that because Cruzeiro wasn't interested. The good thing was that Beanie kind of wasn't that bursted down. Yes, Hawk got onto him. Yes, Hawk tried. And that's kind of why Hawk died, because Hawk went onto Beanie with 0 backup. Trucklax used the Unstoppable Force on Annie instead. Odd choices, maybe. So there is potential for Furia to win fights. They just have to keep Beanie alive. And maybe if Trucklax doesn't prioritize Beanie, they can actually turn these fights here. So a lot of focus now, not only just to Beanie's positioning, but more, to me, onto Trucklax and where his ultimate goes. If he hits it, great. If he misses it, there's a real big chance here that Furia can win these fights.
Ooh. Beanie does a lot of damage. He's at almost 300 CS, up 60 on his counterpart. And again, Senna can do a lot with a little. She provides more than just damage in her kit. She's at 3 items plus a stopwatch, while Beanie is at 3 items plus the Executioners here to mitigate that healing. And I guess, yeah, any sort of regen from Sting as well. I don't know how I feel about the Executioners, but look, he's pumping out more than enough damage just by himself. Sting going over the wall, taking absolutely no prisoners. Look at him go. He's a madman, zoning off the inhibitor. He doesn't care. He says, engage on me. I double, triple dog dare you. Hawk is there in tow as well. Trucklax ready to pull the trigger. And Tyron, at least he's got teleport RMC.
That's true. That's true. At least he has teleport this time. So instead of 8 seconds, it'll take him 4 seconds. But it's his base just lost an inhibitor because he's off doing split pushing. And he's hesitating like crazy whether or not to back. He didn't efficiently shove in this wave, and now mid lane's under threat here. He'll have to go back.
Yep, they've got the 5v4, and it might be too little too late. There goes the Dawning Shadow, going to get a kill onto Beanie. And with Beanie down, this one is pretty much over. Damage goes down as well. Tyron,
Now
he says that base race is on. Now they're going to try to, they're chasing follow. Why I would have just tried to end there.
They didn't have minions for Cruzeiro, and Tyron's TP there is to cut the minion wave. It's not a bad decision, but you've got supers coming in the bot lane, so it doesn't matter that you cut the mid lane. They're still going to have minions, and that's going to be game. Cruzeiro takes this one here in, frankly, what was a very questionable game from Furia once again.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Furia did themselves no favors. The decision-making, the lack thereof. And Cruzeiro, they